Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Alex Coffey, Senior Market Strategist at Charles Schwab. We're here to discuss performance in the Nasdaq-100 as key stocks like NVIDIA and the tech sector have shown a turnaround today. Alex, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And it's interesting, starting to see a little bit of volatility in the index, some days down, some day up. Clearly today, this Tuesday, March 12th, we're seeing it to the upside.
Yeah, a little bit more choppy trade, certainly some signs of weakness, but also a lot of things still going on the positive front. We took a look at the Nasdaq 100 chart that I sent you guys. It's a 6-month chart, and really this encapsulates the majority of this recent move that we've looked at. We had stayed inside this rising wedge for much of that time frame. It did recently break out to the downside, which I think in some circles could be a little bit of a concern, but we're still trending pretty nicely to the upside. So kind of combining a couple different technical things, and then in our familiar kind of traffic light color scheme, the first level we'd be looking at to the upside clearly would be those old highs. So that was just over 18,400 in the NDX. Below that, in sort of our caution zone, and this time it is more of a zone that kind of combines some short-term trade and short-term trend levels and creates a $500 or 500-point window here between about 17,300 and 17,800. If that would fail to hold, that would kind of cloud the recent uptrend, and then you'd be looking for support to the downside near the lows of 2024, which would be 16,250, which really puts into perspective just how strong this rally has been, as that seems so far away.
And if we take a look at the heat map, I mean, really, it tells a story today, right? We're seeing, the heavier weights contributing to performance, and, this clearly exemplifies it.
It really does. And the market really has been so correlated to NVIDIA and some of the other names that have been in this AI and semiconductor trade. Last I had looked on a 30-day trading day rolling basis, NVIDIA was correlated to the S&P 500 like 0.94, similar to the Nasdaq. But Apple was actually negatively correlated. So what I thought was interesting about today was to see Apple joining the party. It's not performing to the same extent to the upside, but it is recovering the last few sessions and performing alongside the indices today. A lot of this due to the strong earnings out of Oracle, which I know is not a NASDAQ 100 component, but it has so much correlation to the other names that are included, and they certainly caught a boost post that. And then just shrugging off CPI despite a little bit of wobbliness around the opening bell.
Yeah, and it's interesting now, Alex, we spoke about this last week, but we really are in an earnings vacuum that we're not seeing the flurry that you typically do for that 3 to 4 week period. So again, the market is hyper-focused on what's happening with the macro inflation, Fed policy rates, of course, what's happening with fiscal policy as we start to get into the thick of what, the election cycle. So what are your thoughts around this, with the market being so focused on macro headlines and every little dot plot and data point that comes out?
Yeah, given that the market was able to take hotter than expected inflation in stride now for a couple months in a row, even if you look at the super core metric, which we know is sort of what the Fed pointed us to a year ago to show that disinflationary trend before it really showed up in the headline, that's more alarming. 3-month annualized basis for the super core, which is core services X housing, was like 6.9% in February, which is just showing that sort of reflation on that metric. But the market taking that in stride. So I'm going to be looking at retail sales and jobs numbers as they come out, just because it seems the market's looking beyond inflation and more towards growth now. And if that growth story can hang in there, I think we can continue to stomach even a little bit higher than ideal inflation numbers.
All right, Alex, we appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.